Well,
never
Liz,
comes
thanks
to
for
this.
joining us. We wanted to pick your brain a little bit after talking with you a little bit about these branded condom packages you've been sending us. We
Happy to answer your questions.
yeah, we can't wait to have some conversation that maybe go beyond that. But Mike being in suicide cages, he's been able to see how fast these people are grabbing these things off the table. So I know he can speak to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'd love to hear more because I'm just here holed up in my office in Philly. I don't get to see them out in the wild a lot. So
That's
I'd
probably
love
hard. Yeah, you
to see
get
'em
to
from the
see all the
merch table.
pictures. Yeah.
No, yeah,
We'll keep taking pictures.
they catch people's eye really quickly. It's interesting because I've noticed that everyone is interested in them, and it sort of varies by age group how like quickly people reach for them. And we, we're trying to toe this balance where very much with like younger people who come to the merch group, we're really trying to encourage them to grab some, like, and just be like, hey, this is something you need. This is something you should have. I mean, definitely with everybody, but but yeah, they're really eye-catching and people love them. And I think the only question we get every single time is that people always think it's a grinder, like a weed grinder because of the circular.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's the right size, right? Yeah, like it matches the size of a grinder. That's fair.
Does it though? Because I don't smoke weed, so to me that
Grinders
question
are a little
always seems
deeper.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they're a little I mean, the grinders that I have are like maybe an inch, inch and a half in diameter, and they're taller.
Okay.
Um,
Right.
it's funny you mention that though, because something I do pitch a lot to like, especially the doom and stoner bands that I work with. I was just like, just tell people they can use it as a stash jar when they're done,
Yeah,
recycle
we
it.
tell that people too. Yeah.
It's not airtight, but
Yeah.
it'll do.
Mike uses it to carry his guitar picks. I know that's
Perfect.
somebody else I talked to said they were putting their jewelry, their nose piercings and stuff in it because it was a good container to hold jewelry. So great reuse capabilities too. So we appreciate that. It's awesome to have a little branded tin around everybody after they've used the contents you supply us with.
Yes. And yes, for context, those of you listening, because we just kind of jumped right into that.
We did.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
I work for ONE Condoms, which is a Boston-based company. Um, and I run a program called One on Stage. It's a sexual health awareness program that basically uses cool art as a way to spark conversations about safer sex. And I work with about 100, bands all across the US and Canada. And we print bands' art of choice. A lot of the times it's a logo or album artwork or something like that. We print it on a reusable condom carry tin, and bands hand them out at shows. It's a great conversation starter, free merch, good cause. Everyone wins.
We
Yeah.
just got a box of 6 disc changer condom tins this week. So thank you for those.
Um,
We're stoked to hand them out. It's a lot of fun. We put them in all our mail orders from Brayburn and we make sure everybody gets one. So I think we've had a lot of positivity about that. So we appreciate the support just because it's a great thing to back and a fun thing to be a part of. So thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah, thanks for being part of it. We've got a surprisingly dense representation in the Denver area for the program.
Oh, that's right.
I feel like it started with you guys. I've like a bunch of stuff has popped up and come my way
We may
from
have
Denver
passed your
since we
name on a
started
couple
talking.
times. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad. And you're finding some new bands that way too, right? So you've got some new bands to listen to from all this.
Yes. Yes,
Good.
I come out on top of this situation. Always have new music to listen to.
totally.
Beautiful.
There's
Yeah.
a
So,
lot. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I just wanted to ask you, how did you get involved in this? How did you originally pitch this idea to one?
So, it's a long story, but I guess we've got time.
Right.
We
Exactly. Yeah.
do.
So I've been with ONE Condoms for a little over a year now. They brought me on as part of the marketing team to just kind of like help out, like do a little bit of project management and coordination, but also to start this program or restart this program. I guess it was something that they ran back in the early aughts, like maybe
Okay.
like 2005 through like
Okay.
2010. Um they partnered with various like harm reduction organizations and handed out condoms and tins and various products at larger music festivals and did some large scale band partnerships. I think Kiss and Prince were on the list, like way out of
Nice.
my league.
Nice.
But I guess the project sort of fell off after a few years. There wasn't really anyone to manage it.
Hmm.
But the CEO is a big music lover, a big arts lover, and he's been wanting to get the program back up and running. So when they saw my experience, running my brewery venue and booking shows and working with a lot of local bands and artists, they brought me on to bring this back. And then I also do a lot of artist outreach for the company, do some like various partnerships because it's not just bands that we work with. We do a lot of collabs with muralists and illustrators to do other types of art on our wrappers. We have all sorts of different collections. It's a fun job. I like it. When I started the program last July, actually, so happy 1 year to me. And
Yeah, happy 1 year.
I just reached out to a lot of New England bands that I knew or had connections to, and just sort of organically grew it from there.
Right.
Yeah, and then we also have an application on the One Condoms
Right.
website where if bands hear about the program or see the stuff at a show, they can reach out to me. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just me. So if you're dealing with anything one on stage, it's just Liz.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. I just think I'm excited that you get to do it. And I'm excited that it's someone like you who has, history and experience in arts and music, because it's one of those things that, well, first of all, when we talk about, sexual health and awareness, where things have come a long way, but it's always worth having anything we can do to help continue to break down stigma around that. And like I said, especially for young people who are involved. And I always focus on that because I have a son who's like 19. And so that's always what I think of. Like, I want him to be able to approach things like this without all the baggage my generation had, you know? Um, so yeah, I just think it's such a brilliant idea, and it's the type of thing that like musicians and artists have such a great platform to do it. And especially music, where we're already, so much of the music, especially in our community at least, is already so overtly political and at least attempts to be, somewhat progressive in at least other areas. It's a great thing to fold into everything.
Absolutely. And also when the message of sexual health and safer sex is coming from your peers at a show, like at a place where you're all relaxed and you're there for the same thing, I feel like that's just gonna like resonate with you a lot more than getting a lecture from some like corporate looking professional. Like I'm
Right.
more likely to listen to someone who looks like me than someone in a polo shirt. But
It does
Yeah,
work that way.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because then you see someone who, like, actually, yeah, like you're wearing a health shirt. I love that band. Like, you see someone who
no,
has
it's
like,
actually it's my yoga shirt.
that's
Health
even
shot,
better.
Working
even
out
better.
earlier.
Yeah.
That's even better. Like, yeah, you see, like, but to that end, like, yeah, you see someone who looks like you, who's wearing the stuff you like, who's listening to the stuff you like. You're right. I mean, even as an adult, that's going to resonate a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just happy that the program has had such a positive response, especially in the heavy music community. Like
Right.
we all already look out for each other. Like a
Mhm.
lot of people in the community have been marginalized in some way, or maybe they were like made fun of growing up. But metalheads and heavy music fans like just tend to stick together in
Mhm.
general and look out for each other. So I feel like having condoms and having that message of safer sex at the show just kind of fits in naturally.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's a fantastic swing of the pendulum. I remember when I was like a little kid, and I was just becoming aware of music, and aside from listening to, my dad playing me like Huey Lewis and the News or Stevie Wonder or something, the first metal that I heard, well, let me rephrase that, not the very first like Priest or Maiden, but when I was a little kid, it was still like the tail end of butt rock. And so like I remember like, I was like 12 or something. One of the first CDs I bought was like Poison or something, you know. And so to get back to the pendulum swing comment, it's awesome because that whole time in mainstream metal was so the opposite of this. It was so reckless, and it wasn't at all community minded, and it definitely wasn't focused on a message of safety, towards young people.
You feel like the message was more about like pushing yourself to the extreme.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and taking risks, which was, we all saw where that got all those dudes. Like,
The aftermath is now. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yes. Choices were made.
My
Right,
favorite.
right, exactly. So are you a musician as well?
I'm not. I played bass for a while in my teens and early 20s, but
Hmm?
I got into home brewing when I was 20, when I was 22, and then that spiraled into an obsession and eventually a brewing career. And playing music kind of fell to the wayside from that, but I have a deep appreciation for all things heavy. Going to shows has always been a hobby for me. I try to get to a show at least once a week, sometimes twice. Where
Nice.
where I am in Philly, it's not hard to do that. We have a very robust music scene here.
Yeah.
Who'd you
But
see most recently?
who did I see most recently? I saw Gozu, which is a
Yeah.
heavy rock band from Boston, and then
Okay.
who else played that show? Why am I totally blanking? Hang on one second. It was a great show, and I'm just completely spacing out on it. But I write all these things down.
Yeah.
I saw Gozu and I saw Samanuri from Brooklyn. And they were
Okay.
kind of fun. They were all over the place. Like some hardcore elements, some kind of like psyche elements, some heavy rock. It was
Interesting.
sweaty. It was a sweaty show. It was upstairs and the AC was broken. So it was like
Nice.
90 degrees. It's like me and 24 very sweaty dudes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Sounds like
I love venues like that. There's a newer place in Denver that it's an upstairs venue, and they have to open the windows there. It's called, what is it called? It's upstairs from the Skylark. It's called the Bobcat Lounge, and they're just starting to do heavy shows.
Hmm.
And when they do, yeah, we saw Gaytheist there, with this local noise rock band called Almanac Man. Who are just awesome. And yeah, the place wasn't even full. I think it was only like 60 people there. And yeah, it was like a sauna. It was wild. Like, and
I
it's
think
just
they
like,
fixed the AC. I was at that place on Saturday and it was pretty cold up there. So I
boo.
think they may have fixed it. I mean, it's always different when it's not a sauna, but
Yeah.
yeah, those windows are important to stay open no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
that's wild.
The entire sensory experience of
Absolutely. It's
being
all
at
part
the
of the
show.
deal. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This summer has been like kind of light for me for shows. We've been
Mhm.
doing a lot of hiking and getting out of the city on weekends.
Right.
I'm missing the Pelican tour
Oh,
coming through
oh,
next weekend because I'm
yeah.
going to the beach. Stupid vacation.
Could be worse.
Always
Could be
times it
But
worse.
they
right,
have a new
doesn't it?
album out and it's very good.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite show that I've been to this year so far, Napalm Death and Melvins. I've
Yeah.
seen Melvins probably more than any other band, but I haven't seen Napalm Death before, and that was great. That was a bucket list show for me.
Yeah. Napalm Death is incredible. And yeah, I only saw them for the first time, God, like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was also with Melvins. It was here at the Ogden, I think, either the Ogden or the Bluebird here in Denver.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I've seen Melvins just a bazillion times. Like, I don't know why too. Like it's almost like accidental how many times I've seen them.
They're always touring, so
They
Yeah.
they
they're
always
very
tour and
good.
they're always playing with somebody good. Like they're on
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
bill. Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. That Pelican album is absolutely amazing. Like, so with some of that stuff, like, I mean, we're talking about all these bands that also would have great platforms. Are is there an intention like that you're focusing on smaller bands, like with your marketing outreach and everything?
Um, Sort of, yes and no. I'm trying to grow the program as organically as possible.
Right,
And I feel like starting with a base of smaller bands who will appreciate the recognition and the promotion and like the personal connection a little bit more, where you're actually talking with the band members instead of a manager or a label or something. It's just a little easier to get your foot in the door and be heard.
right,
Um, Also trying to keep my budget on the low side. Like sometimes when you get into like, the national touring bands, they're not necessarily going to want to promote something for free, or they're a little less likely to, connect with a brand or something like that.
right,
Um, but yeah, and I mean also just a lot of the music that I listen to is local, or lesser known. So it's kind of fun to be able to reach out and feel like I'm giving back to the local music scene,
right.
wherever that local music scene may be,
Sure.
a little bit more. But I think the next step for me and this one on stage program is developing some partnerships with harm reduction organizations that can just distribute our product at larger events. Basically be where I can't be. As much as I would love to travel all over the country and like table at events and things. I have two dogs and I'm a homebody. And I don't think the company's gonna fly me all over the US to hand out free stuff. At least not yet. But
Right.
Got to work up to that.
No,
so
harm reduction agencies, that's a brilliant idea. That's a really
yeah,
good idea.
I actually got the idea from one of our program partners. They reached out to me on the application, and when I saw the shipping address, I was like, "Oh, holy shit, you live 3 blocks from me. Do you want to go get a coffee?"
Right,
Yeah, there you
And I
go.
ended up picking her brain a little bit about the harm reduction nonprofit that she started. And she was just like, yeah, we go to all of the like EDM and jam band festivals and we hand out Narcan, we hand out testing strips, we hand out condoms and lubes and all sorts of things. So it was just like a perfect fit. She gave me some contact info for other organizations all around the country. So I've just been reaching out and trying to develop those partnerships basically during any downtime that I have. That's been pretty successful so far. And then the other thing I'm working on is trying to secure some sponsorships for festivals where we can actually have a table and like more of a presence there. Because it's great to have another organization just hand out condoms, lubes, whatever,
right,
do my work for me. But I also want to be boots on the ground. I want to have the conversations with people. I want them to be able to put a face to the company, a face to the program, that's normal, not super corporate looking.
right.
Um, and I want to get out there and meet musicians and hang out with people. So
Yeah.
we're sponsoring what is it called? Ghost Canyon
Oh,
in
cool.
Denver. I think you guys are playing there.
We are,
So
yeah.
glad you are. Yeah.
In August. And they reached out to me because of you guys, actually. So
Nice.
thank
Nice.
you for that. I was
Does that
able.
mean you're coming to see the festival?
No, because I'm traveling that weekend already. But
Unfortunate.
next year, I'll make plans. I'll
Yeah.
make plans to come out. I will be in Denver in December to
Oh,
see
nice.
Granite Incantation and Acid Bath.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna be at
Yeah.
that show. Dead guy's gonna be
So
on that too.
I'll hit you guys up and maybe we can grab a coffee or some lunch or
Yeah.
something and you
Let's
can
do
meet
that.
my little fest crew. Um, but yeah, we love the Decibel guys. They're Philly based, so we always go to those shows. And then one is also sponsoring RPM Fest in Montague, Massachusetts. It's out in like the Berkshires. And I don't know if you're familiar with the fest at all, but it's 3 days. It's a heavy music camp out. This year's headliners are Ghoul, Horrendous, and Conan.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
nice.
Yeah, it should be a great show. And it really features a lot of New England and Mid-Atlantic based bands. So it's very, very community based. Like everyone knows each other. It's about 1,500 people. Almost
Yeah,
everyone camps out for the weekend. It's an absolute blast.
that's
Nice.
right.
Yeah. When my husband and I were running our brewery, we were one of the beer sponsors. So we would make a beer for the fest, be like, this is what you want to drink when you are listening to heavy music in the woods.
Right, right, right.
So we go way back with the fest, and I'm excited to be part of that again. So that's sort
Yeah,
of my like, trial run for being there and handing stuff out and having like a sexy and safe time with everyone.
right, exactly. That's awesome. Have you heard of Fire in the Mountains?
I have, but I only know the name. Tell me more
Yeah,
about
the way you're describing that festival reminds me a lot of Fire in the Mountain, and makes me think it might be a good at least future contact, maybe if it fits in your plan to scale the program.
Is
Uh,
it a Colorado-based festival?
it is, I think the founders, I think some of them are in Colorado. But the site that they've been holding it is up in Wyoming. And so it's just south of, what is it, Grand Tetons National Park or something. It's in a beautiful, beautiful spot in July, and I went 3 or 4 years ago. And it's sort of deceiving because it's really green and lush, but it's also just punishingly hot for some weird reason. Um, but I mean, this year they've got Converge. The year I went, they had Wolves in the Throne Room.
Nice.
Yeah, they typically have some pretty strong lineups. Like, I'll shoot you the info when we're done. It's an interesting thing, and it's the same
Sounds
thing
right
where
up
like
my alley.
everyone just goes up and camps out for 3 days at this ranch and just camps and hangs out and just parties and watches metal all day.
It's exactly what you need to recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly.
sounds like a good weekend. Okay, so part of what we do on this podcast is we talk to people about obviously what they're doing now and how they're making it as an artist. I've noticed that you're also doing some art yourself, and obviously you ran another business in the brewery business. Tell us more about some of that. I'm curious about the arc of the brewery and booking the bands and doing all the other things that you've done too.
Oh, that
I
is
mean,
quite a,
however
quite a
deep
long
we want to
story.
get.
Yes, where to begin? Um, I guess I'll start with the art, because that goes back farther. I mean, I've been drawing and doodling my whole life. I was definitely that like weird kid in the back of the classroom, like scrawling on my desk.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I got into comic books pretty early on, so a lot of my stuff was inspired by that. Very illustrative, very cartoony. And then when I started getting into music as a teenager, I loved all of the album artwork and like psychedelic concert posters and things like that. And that's continued to kind of influence my style over the years. But that's just something that's always been a part of my life. So I was just like, I'll just go major in art when I went to college. And I did that, graduated, did the whole thing. Started a career as a graphic designer, had a crisis at 21, just be like, I can't work in an office. Corporate life is not for me. I need to go scoop ice cream or something and like just keep my feet on the ground. Um,
Sounds like you figured it out early. Good for you.
I'm glad it seems that way.
I know it's part of the story, but still, the anti-corporate mentality hit early. That's good.
Yeah, I mean that particular place just wasn't the right fit for me, but we've all been there before, so it's just part of the evolution. And I met my now husband when I was bartending in my early 20s. He had been homebrewing for several years before that. We were on opposite ends of our 20s when we met. And then we started brewing together. As I mentioned earlier, that kind of turned into an obsession and just like a love for craft beer and learning about the history of brewing, the techniques. Um, and then that just sort of naturally developed into a business plan. And like we never really talked about it or anything, but we just started kind of looking for properties around the Boston area. Basically anything we thought we could turn into a brewery. And then that finally happened in 2016. We had built the place out ourselves. We built the bar, we built the cold room. We got our friends and family to help out with stuff like the wiring and like getting the concrete poured and stuff. Very much a DIY affair. But we were trying to fit out this like teeny little like 1,200 square foot tap room into the brewery of our dreams. We were just like, everything in Boston is so corporate and boring. Like, we just want to make the type of place we want to hang out in.
Right.
We want to
Nice.
brew Belgian beers and we want to listen to heavy metal. And if people want to show up, cool. And they did. We ran the brewery for almost 8 years, 7.5 years, I think, from 2016. And then we closed on December 31st, 2023. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, COVID was fun. Yeah, I turned 30 and then like 3 months later, COVID happened. So I like to joke that my entire 30s has just been like a rolling train wreck.
Right.
But what was nice about COVID for us is that we had to completely shift our business model from like draft only, tap room focus to canning all of our beer and coming up with a lot of cool ideas to keep people engaged, keep people buying our stuff. And we started doing collaborations with local bands. And then we would do virtual release parties and like a hangout with the brewers and the bands. My husband and I were like super involved owners. We brewed all the beer, we ran the tap room, we did all the social media. I did all the art for the cans, the logo for the brewery. Like it was
Nice.
our baby. Like it was our child, like an extension of ourselves, you know? So
Sure.
we would we got in touch with pretty much any local band that was like willing to hang out and chat with us and like wanted a beer. It was a lot of heavy bands in the Boston area, but some other stuff too. We did like collabs with a couple like surf rock and like regular rock bands, and that was kind of
Yeah.
fun to mix it up. But we would sit down with the bands. During COVID, we would like curbside deliver a mix pack of our beers so they could like try through stuff with us. And we would figure out what they liked, whether they wanted to just brew something that they wanted to drink, or if they wanted to brew something that would like pair with their music. Like, what would you drink if you were listening to this album? Or like, what would this album taste like? For example,
That's super fun.
do you know the band Glacier by any chance? They're super heavy, like instrumental.
Mhm.
So we did a beer with them, and I remember talking with their drummer, and it was just like, okay, so what kind of beer do you want me to make for you, Jesse? And he was just like, I want something that is dark and unapproachable, just like our music. So we brewed them, and we brewed them a 10% Imperial Stout called No Light Ever after one of their albums.
Nice.
We
Wow.
barrel aged some of it and like re-released it a couple years later. We ended up becoming really good friends with the band because of it, and we just did a lot of cool shit like that. And well, most bands would want like a pilsner or something like really easy drinking because they're just like, I don't want to be like weighed down by something. I want to headbang, and we did a lot of that too.
Right.
Um, and like we made a red ale for the Red Chord a few years ago.
No
That was
way.
just
That's sick.
That's
yeah.
badass. Yeah.
What was funny is the guy who pushed for that style was the member of the band who doesn't drink at all. I don't think he's ever had a drink in his life. He's like, you guys should make a red ale.
Yeah. Right.
It just
We
fits. It's
did.
easy. It's an easy connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Fixation on red ale. That was the name of that beer.
Oh,
Um,
Nice.
that's so
and a lot of
sick.
the time I would, if the band really wanted, we would just put their art on the can. But a lot of the time, I would take their album artwork or a concept that they had and draw it in like my illustrative style. So it was like a real like
Oh, cool.
marriage creatively. Um, anyway, I sort of got off tangent there. That was like my favorite thing that we did for several years,
No, that's
but
good.
it really helped us build this community space and
Right.
helped us, get access to the Boston like heavy music community. And it was just this like beautiful, incredible thing. The virtual hangouts were really special. They were really fun. People really appreciated that we did that. And then as soon as the world started opening back up again, we had this huge outdoor beer garden that we had built, like everyone did. And we were just like, our loading dock is the perfect height for a stage. We're
There
Yeah.
you go.
hosting shows with all of these bands that we've worked with. So we did. Um, it was we ended up closing the brewery for a lot of reasons. But one of them was the big one was we clashed with our landlords really hard the last couple of years. They didn't like the direction that we were taking the brewery and with the shows and the venue and stuff like that. Even though we were out in the middle of nowhere, there was no one who
Yeah.
could complain about the noise. Like there was a woodworker on the other side of the warehouse and he was gone by 5 p.m. Anyway, I'm pretty sure they just didn't like our Black Lives Matter flags, but that's a
It's a
different.
that's a thing. That's a
I
thing. Yeah.
probably still legally can't talk too much about that. So,
Oh,
um, we did shows for a couple of years. I did a lot of the booking. We also had a bartender that was really connected in the music scene. He's that guy like running around the venue taking photos. He did a lot of that. So he knew everybody and he would make a lot of connections for us too. But it was fun. I really liked promoting shows and like making the posters and getting all the logistics together. Um, Even like learning how to set up the PA and like figure out where everything would go. But yeah, it just kind of showed us how flexible we could be, and just how much we could really use our space and like whatever limited power we had to help improve our community and like give people a safe space and just be like, yeah, we'll have your funeral doom band come play on a Saturday afternoon. Like fucking bring it on. Play two songs. Make sure it's 45 minutes. Like, I don't care.
Play two songs. Yeah. That's all it
So it's not
takes.
like we said yes to everybody, but like anyone who was willing to give our weird brewery a chance, we were willing to hear out. And I'm really glad we did it. It was a very fulfilling time in my life.
Right.
My life is much simpler now. I don't work 90-hour weeks anymore. I don't have to drink professionally for a living, which is great for my mental health.
Probably a little, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I get to just go to shows and just enjoy them. And there's not 3 hours on either end setting up and breaking down, which was
Right.
fun. But I don't know how sustainable that would have been for me personally.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had a good run. You can say you did. You learned a lot. It sounds like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and it was good. And I know not everyone can work with their partner, but my husband and I made a pretty good team with that. And we still like each other. So
Good for you guys.
we
That's
got through
important.
we
Yeah.
got through that.
No, that sounds like a dream, honestly. I know like that was a thing during COVID of people, that bringing up a lot of questions for people. But I always thought that, literally you're telling the dream story, in my opinion, where you got to gain this wealth of life experience and invest in things you loved with someone you love, and go out into the world and have all these adventures. Everything about that sounds rad. That it's just amazing.
Yeah, we got a lot of great opportunities from that. And yeah, we're still like lifelong friends. I hope lifelong friends with
Right.
a lot of the people we met through that. A lot of the bands, our employees, just people in the community. And yeah, like definitely the neatest thing about running a place like that is hearing stories from your customers, from your regulars, from your staff about like what that place meant to them. Like we announced we were closing like 2 or 3 months before we closed because we were just like, yeah, we've thrown everything we can at this, but like the landlords aren't going to renew our lease. They aren't going to fix the leak in the roof that's like raining 10 gallons of water onto the taps every day. Like
Right.
the
Right.
city hates us. They're not going to renew our permits. So we got 3 months. Let's fucking party. And what we did was party. We hosted every single show that we possibly could because we were just like, what
Nice.
are they gonna do? Kick us out? Like they're
Right. Right.
already trying. Um, and we had this yearbook that we passed around for people to just be like, hey, here's a notebook. Just like write whatever cool thing you remember from this place or whatever message you want us to see in like 5, 10 years. And we got so many great stories. Like I didn't know like about a couple proposals that happened or like people that were regulars. I was like, I didn't know you had your first date here. Like
Well,
that's
how
so
cool.
someone wrote to us within the last year and they were just like, we named our child Horatio. And that was the name of our like skeleton logo. This guy,
Nice.
like, that's hardcore, man.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Horatio is a good name. I mean,
It was the only name for him. We drew
yeah.
him. We were just like, he's the Horatio. I don't know what else to call him. Um, but yeah, it was nice to be able to like, put yourself out there creatively and just be weird and be zany, and just have people respond really positively to it. And th this is going to sound more cynical than I mean it to, but Boston has its moments and has its pockets of cool shit, but for the most part, it's a very homogenous city. I spent 18 years of my life living there. I feel like that's valid for me to say that.
Yeah.
You have that power. You have that right.
Um, and there were other like kind of weird, quirky, holes in the wall in Boston. They were very few and far between, and I feel like we really like left a hole in the community when we closed.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was nice to just be able to do that for a little while. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like it definitely ran a very fulfilling course, but just sort of as a follow-up question, did it occur to you to try to revive something like that when you moved to Philly or?
Um, so a few people offered to bankroll new ventures for us when
Mhm.
we were in the process of closing. My husband and I were basically just like, I am so emotionally broken having to go through this, dealing with the fallout, what it meant for us and like our like personal and like financial futures. Just be like, I need some time to just fucking recover from this.
Right.
But really, the reason we haven't tried to revive anything like that is I just don't know if it would feel genuine.
Good.
I don't know, and who knows? Like, just to speculate. Um, I just don't know if I have like that energy left in me at this point in my life. And it's not like I felt like we ran out of ideas or anything like that, but I was just like, anything that we would try and build and like carry on as like the spirit of this, I don't know. Everything about it happened so naturally and by chance. I can't see that happening again, or at least anytime soon.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing the last couple years is just trying to focus on basically just focus on me and just be selfish. I gave every single second that I had and every ounce of creativity, every part of my soul to the brewery. So now I'm just trying to kind of like reclaim some of that, enjoy drawing for fun again, enjoy just going to shows and like being part of the world. And waiting to figure out if I do want to do something like that again.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Disappointing answer for a lot of people, but that's
Yeah,
how
totally. I mean, that
it is.
makes perfect sense. Like, I mean, the way you describe there are a lot of parallels to the way great music happens. And I think about, especially right now where there have been this wave of reunions with all these amazing bands. And, there's always that question of, when is it the right time to do something like that? Because it can't be forced. Because if it's forced, people will know, because it will feel that way to everyone.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
can
and yeah,
tell.
exactly. 100%, 100%. Um, I so are you doing anything with your visual art? Is there a place like that people can see anything you're working on now, or like do you do gallery shows or illustrations or like
I don't have any gallery shows lined up, but most of the stuff I do right now is for me or freelance work through word of mouth. I post all the stuff I think is worth posting on my Instagram.
for sure?
I'm just at Liz Kiraly. Um, And then I also have a portfolio website where you can see a lot of my work from the brewery. It was a lot of label art for beer and gig posters and things like that. But I do posters for local bands. And then
Nice.
I've been doing a lot of like nature inspired stuff, just like kind of HP Lovecraft, like HR Geiger, like mashups with just cool stuff that I see walking around.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm inspired by so many things, but I'm not actually making art for anything right now, just for fun. And I
yeah,
love it.
totally.
It has been so many years.
It almost sounds backwards to say that at this point, right? To be able
It
to
does.
create for creation's sake as opposed to create because something needs a label. Good for you. It's probably quite freeing to be able to breathe and do that.
It's nice to be able to spend a couple weeks on a piece instead of being like, I have 8 hours to get this label to the printer. Like,
Right.
whatever happens, happens.
Oh, that's
Fascinating. It sounds like you've had some fun. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, with the way things are today, kind of you have to just find your own purpose and find your own fun and find the things that keep you sane. I'm
Amen.
not really sure how else to get through this.
yeah,
Completely agree.
yeah.
Uh, I had another question. Let me think if I can remember it now. Sorry. The I'll come back to it. Mike, you got anything, buddy? I lost it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no worries. I think it's awesome that you're doing gig posters. That is, so first of all, I have a huge amount of respect for you as an artist because that was something that I always wanted to be someone who could draw things, and I just freaking can't. Like, and it's wild because my dad was like a wildly great artist, and he didn't really do anything with it. He just did it for fun, but he would draw like, he would just sketch stuff on legal pads just for fun. And it always just blew my mind how good he was. But on the other hand, he could not play music at all to save his life. So I got that, part of the whatever expression. But gig posters, I think, are such a fantastic art form. There are just so many cool artists and so many cool styles and ways to approach it. Was that something that just like was something that always interested you, or were you, how did that start to come about?
I mean, me doing them just sort of came about naturally. I do one for someone. one for my college boyfriend's band, then one for his friend's band, stuff like that. And now it's through word of mouth. Sometimes I'll just go up to bands at shows and be like, hey, like, here's my Instagram. Like, if you like this, I'd be happy to just draw something for you because I'm a fan. Really, I love it because I feel like it's my way to give back to a community that I love so much because I don't play music. Like I can't participate in shows, but maybe I can help promote them and advertise them and like maybe inspire someone to come check out something new.
Right.
And like I love the idea of gig posters as an art form because it's so accessible. You can do literally any style of art that you want. You can rip up pictures and then just like glue them to a piece of paper and photocopy it. Or you can create a beautiful illustration. Or you can deface a photo that's relevant to the times. Like whatever speaks to you in that moment, it's all fair game. And the fact that, they're posted up all around the city and it's just such an accessible form of art that anyone can see and appreciate, like rip down, take home, put in a folder, like do
Right.
whatever with. I don't know. There's just something so everyday and enjoyable about it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I think it's also I just again just huge props. I love that you're part of that because I know for me and Derek and I have had this conversation so many times. The visual aspect is such an important part of the music as well, and it always has been, but I think, for a long time, a lot of that time got invested in videos. And now that, like MTV is not a thing anymore, things are sort of cycling back to how important a good album cover is and good merch. And again, the posters, because again, you can go to some amazing show, and then if you have an awesome poster, and even if that poster, it doesn't have to be some crazy huge poster. If it's just a cool, 11 by 17 flyer, that's almost better to me, because for the reason you just said, it's accessible. I just grabbed it off the telephone pole outside, and now I have this awesome thing to remember the night by.
And like I think you guys were talking about this on one of the first episodes, maybe. Um, I think I heard it. I think I heard it from you guys, but there was a conversation about the art and the design from either an album cover or a poster being that first impression of a band. Like people may not have necessarily heard the music. You don't want to necessarily cut corners on the art
Right.
because if you put all
Absolutely.
this time and love and attention into something
Mhm.
and the art sucks, like it's going to look unfinished, it's going to look unprofessional. Like if it's intentionally bad, I feel like that's a different thing. But
Right.
um yeah, I mean don't cut corners on first impressions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm still drawn to that. I go to a record store and I know of some of the things I'm shopping for. And I always blank when I get there because there's so many options, but I'm still drawn to that new record or that piece of art that catches me on that album cover. And it makes me want to research it and follow it just like I did when I was a kid. So the art is so important. And we're fortunate in the fact that Mike does the artwork for Suicide Cages. So he has a vision on the music side and on the visual side that it seems to stay pretty cohesive, but we find that it works really well. You can't skimp on that stuff. That's just as important as the music. It is the first impression. It's the repeated impression. Every time you hear a note off the record, you're looking at that artwork and you're diving into it. So you want it to be multifaceted a little bit so that you're diving into it and seeing different pieces of it as you're reading the cover art and the whatever else.
Oh, absolutely. I still like to sit and look at the liner notes,
Oh yeah.
especially every time I get a new record on vinyl. We don't put them on the shelf until we've listened through them and looked at everything. And it still makes me feel like a teenager sometimes, like sitting on the floor with like big vinyl case right here, just looking at all of the art and
So you have a just in
feel a
box
little
like I
getting
do. Good
lost in
for
the
you.
drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. You have to listen to those before they're part of the collection officially.
Yes.
You have to absorb them completely. Yes, it's important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like
Yeah.
there's some records I have. I always go back to there's a couple I always go back to, but one of my favorite layouts of all time is from the band Dead Guy from their record Fixation on a Coworker. and I will take I'll take those notes out and just look at that sometimes. Sometimes I won't even play the record because I've heard the record like a bazillion times. But like sometimes I'll just take that out and just look at it because it's just such a sick layout. And especially if I'm doing projects for other bands, like I'm not looking to, steal anything, but I'm looking to be inspired.
100%. 100%. And if you can be inspired and take something someone else made and like have your own interpretation of it, that's not stealing at all.
Right.
Right.
That's drawing inspiration from multiple sources.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can see behind me, I have like a little bit of an art buying problem. My whole house looks like this. So I
Oh
like
no.
to say my walls are just covered in my inspiration. So
Yeah. Which is
and
awesome.
even liner notes I really like. Sometimes I'll just put the record in a blank sleeve and just hang the art on the wall so I can see it all the
Sometimes
time.
that
You paid
works.
for it, you might as well look at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And again, it's visual art. It's part of the experience. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off, Derek.
No, I agree completely. I do the same thing. I think I have more art to frame than I actually have hanging, and I have a full wall or two on every wall I look at. But every room has most everything covered. But I respect that. You have to keep collecting the art if you're a purveyor of such things. So
I
we'll
agree.
always
Tell my
be
husband
making
that.
and creating and collecting at the same time, right?
I don't know any other way to live.
That's
Yeah.
fair. I'm curious what brought you to Philly. Can we ask that part?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
So I've been living here for a little over a year. I started my job at One in Boston, and on the day I signed my contract, I was like, "Hey, I'm moving to Philly in 2 weeks. I hope that's okay.
Thanks for the job. I'm out.
I need to be remote. Sorry."
That's
They
awesome.
were super cool about it, obviously. But so after we closed the brewery, my husband and I took a few months off from everything. We were just like, we've got plenty saved up. I need to just go fuck off to the desert for a month and like just, I don't know, find myself.
Right.
So we did some traveling, then we did some job hunting, and we were looking literally everywhere in the US. I was just like, I don't want to move to Florida, and I'm too afraid of earthquakes to actually live on the West Coast. So like pretty much any other city is like fair game. And I don't know, I don't even know how many jobs we applied to, but we looked everywhere from like Madison, Wisconsin to like Asheville, North Carolina. Brooklyn was on the list, Denver was on the list, Raleigh was on like everywhere. And then we kept coming back to Philly because we were just like, we can't afford to live anywhere in the Northeast. Boston is crazy expensive. You don't even want to know what we were paying for our one bedroom. It was way too much. And we were just like, we can just move to Providence or Portland, Maine or whatever. And we're just like, no, we can't. Okay, I guess we're leaving New England.
Ah,
And we looked at the prices in Philly. I was like, oh shit, we can actually afford to live here. And I love coming to visit every year. So I don't know, keep it on the list. And as other cities just kept getting crossed off, Philly kept staying on the list. And then my husband accepted a head brewer position
oh,
here.
nice.
And we moved here.
Nice.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Are you guys still making beer? It sounds like you still have a connection to that.
So yes, Jared he's a head brewer at just like a cute little tap room. It's just over the river in South Jersey. He likes it. It's a job. Like he gets to make beer that tastes good, that's drunk by local people. And but he also gets to come home at 6 p.m. and he has
Gets
weekends
to
off, which are not
the
luxuries we have
office.
for
That's amazing.
many, many years.
Yeah.
And I do some homebrew kombucha now. We don't drink enough to
Did
like
I lose you
warrant
guys?
homebrew beer or anything. Say what?
Oh, you froze up. You froze up, Derek.
I sure did. I watched you guys freeze. I kept looking at myself. I was just saying, so this time he gets to leave the beer at the office. That's a great problem to have.
It is. It is. And we can go hang out anytime we like. So it's nice. I'm glad he's still doing it because he's very talented, good at writing recipes. Just one of those people who's naturally inclined to it. And still gets to be creative with it. So I
Yeah.
think it's good for him. I don't know how long he'll do it. He's in his early 40s. Brewing is notoriously bad on your back and knees. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Fair.
Um, but yeah,
It,
I mean, I'm just enjoying the chill 9 to 5 life. because it gives me so much more time to support the things that I am super passionate about outside of work.
That's awesome. That's the great way to live. And it's also, yeah, when you talk about that, the brewing, it's impressive how creative that can be. And I never really realized how how much can go into it, especially if it's someone like your husband and yourself who are really passionate about it and making it something really cool. Because I always just thought it was like, oh, it's just, bread and and water,
I
like
mean, it absolutely can be. We were a Belgian focused brewery, so our big thing was like yeast profile. So we kept the recipes themselves really simple. We didn't do a lot of like I hate to call them gimmick beers because that makes me sound dismissive of a very large part of the industry. But like we didn't do like the peanut butter stouts and like the fruit smoothie type things. And, like that's all well and good, but we were just like, I want beer flavored beer. So we would just do super simple recipes and then just let the yeast do its thing.
right.
Real farmhouse style, kind of old school. But yeah, real marriage of art and science. You could get pretty creative with it. We did a lot of barrel aging and blending too, which was fun. So
Yeah,
I
Still
think
get to play chemist even without that peanut butter.
yes, yes, exactly.
right.
Nice.
Yeah, there are a couple breweries here in Denver that are also sort of metal focused that
Did
do
you
a
guys
pretty good
hear about
job of.
True?
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
mention
we
True,
did
and
just hear
they're
about that.
closing. It's a bummer.
I know. Nick and EJ are really great people.
Yeah, yeah, they're awesome. The whole staff in there is great, and that place, man, like it's funny because I haven't been in there for a few months because I'm not drinking right now. But immediately, like when they announce they're closing, I'm like, all right, I need to just go in there and just sit there and pound some liquid deaths or something for a couple hours and just, soak up the ambience before it's gone.
Buy a couple more t-shirts for the
Yeah,
history books, all that stuff.
yeah.
It's been part of the community for long enough that
It's almost 15 years, dude.
it's one of those places that we always just reverted back to, it was always there. So it's going to be a hard one to lose.
I know. I feel like I went there for the first time in like 2013 or 2014. Like that
Yeah.
was not recent. So, and they've been around for a couple years before that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel
But
like they've been around since like 2011, something like that.
that's
Somewhere
wow.
around
That's
there.
a really good long run. And
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't draw a lot of direct inspiration from them, but they were always a role model for us. It's just like proof that the beer and heavy metal concept can work.
It does
Yeah.
work. Yes, yes.
Yeah. It almost worked like too well because like now at the point they're at where they're closing, and I'm speaking purely from the point of view of a customer who was going there for a long time. I have no idea how, the owners and the staff felt. But it had like it had reached that certain like I was almost going to say cusp, but now it's almost more like the uncanny valley of acceptance, where it was like before it was all us reject weirdos and metalheads and hardcore kids, and then it was like the last time I was in there, it was all like PTA groups, like who are like walking the kids like in strollers, and they all stopped in True, like
You become a family brewery for the
yeah,
neighborhood.
totally. Yeah. Which was
Yeah.
just wild to see. Like, and it's a great thing and it's awesome because, the more people that enjoy it, the better. But it was just such an interesting, like I said, it was just the other end of the spectrum from when I used to hang out there.
100%. And like the 10 years or so that I was in the brewing industry, I watched it become this very weird niche like adventure thing. Like you had to go seek it out.
Right.
And it would just be a bunch of other like beer weirdos drinking there to the point where like people were starting to like go check it out and like make a weekend of it to it becoming pretty fully mainstream. And that happened with the kind of millennial like beer drinking audience aging as well. I feel
Right.
like as people my age started to have kids and start families, they were still going to the breweries and like you've just sort of seen that, happen in parallel. Um, but I mean, it's good. I think it's a great thing that breweries can serve as that community space because there just are not that many that are pretty cheap and low key to hang out
Yeah.
at anywhere. So I'm all for it. I just think breweries should be like upfront about, their family policies because some of us don't want children.
Right, right, right. Well,
Good
yeah,
to
I
know.
think there's if you ever make it out to San Francisco, that's where I moved to Denver from San Francisco, and one of the places I really miss, and someone told me it's still there, was a place called Zeitgeist. And it wasn't a brewery so much as a bar, although maybe they're brewing their own stuff now, I don't know. But I always thought they did a really good job of that balance that you're describing, where it was like, it's this massive beer garden. And it was, most of the week and happy hour, full of bike messengers and skaters and metalheads and just, my people, all the dirtbags that I would like to hang out with, but then it was like every Sunday was like a barbecue. And it was you went there on Sundays and you're just kids are just running around, you're just dodging them. But those kids are having the time of their life. And it's also kind of rad because they're growing up again, to circle all the way back to one of the things I love about your work with One, we're destigmatizing things. So they're growing up seeing their parents engage in alcohol in a healthy social way, as opposed to, like I said, when I was a kid and when I was in high school, where it was like, drink your face off or you suck, and it's, if you ever get out to San Francisco, if Zeitgeist is still out there, you should definitely check it out. Like I said, because they do a great job of that.
Yeah, next time I find myself in San Francisco more often than I ever thought I would in my life. So I will I'll jot that down and I'll check it out next time I fly in there. But yeah, to your point, it goes beer gardens and breweries as a community space and a family space goes back centuries.
Right.
Um, like in the 19th century when the middle class or like a leisure class first started becoming a thing. I'm sure you guys know this, right? Like breweries and ale houses had like giant sprawling beer gardens. The whole family would come and picnic for the day.
Right.
And yeah, going back to or like fast forward to 2025, if you can have this like bright, airy beer garden where pretty much anyone can come and enjoy it, it helps destigmatize alcohol. And like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot that's wrong with alcohol,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of really great and beautiful and fun things about it too. Um, so and I don't think it always deserves the stigma that it has. So,
Yeah.
beer can be fun. It's the great equalizer.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's a good way to look at it. It's true. It is. So besides nature, the other question we always ask is what else is inspiring you right now?
Ooh, that's a
I know
good
we've talked music and outdoors, but is there anything else?
Hmm. Yeah, I have been outdoors quite a bit this year. So that has been a very big inspiration for me. We're trying to tick national parks off of our list, and
Good
Oh,
for
nice.
you.
I've been enjoying just the vastness that you get to experience while you're there. And as someone who's just like a city rat, seeing the complete opposite of that is just it gets me thinking for days and days and days after I return.
Sure.
Um, Outside of that, I do just love taking walks around my city and taking in the architecture and all of the amazing street art and murals that we have here in Philly. I keep meaning to start a new like Instagram highlight, just cataloging the cool shit I see just every day. And it's just like a pulsating, colorful city. I love it very much. So it's hard to not draw inspiration from that, especially just, the union and the mashup of all of this incredible 18th and 19th century architecture that we have. I've become way more interested in old buildings than I ever thought I would be, which sounds very nerdy and middle-aged of me. But
It
I'm
happened.
enjoying that quite a bit. Um, and then since he passed away earlier this year, I've been working my way through all of David Lynch's films and creative works, and that's been a really interesting kind of creative journey to see everything that he's done. I don't know, I'm like a completionist, so like if I get into a band, I'm like I have to listen to your whole discography. If I start like learning about a director or a producer, I'm just like, just give me everything you've ever made. I'm like, let me just see what you do.
Sure.
Um, so I've been spending a lot of time doing that. Um, but yeah, outside of that, I guess I'm pretty boring. I don't have a great answer to that.
I think that was a good answer. I
Yeah, that
think
was a great answer. Yeah.
anything but boring. Sounds like you've got quite a few nooks and corners of things to be researching and putting into the mix. So we appreciate that. Mike, you have any other questions?
No, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for
It
taking the
really
time.
has.
Thank you for having me. It was great to get to know you guys better, and hopefully we can get together in Denver when I'm there in December.
Absolutely. We'll make it a point.
Yeah.
Mike has already said he's going to the show no matter what. He was talking about that before we got on the phone with you today anyway. So
Oh yeah.
he's a big Dead Guy fan, so he's going to be at the show no matter what.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
We will be
I
there.
assume I'm allowed to swear on this.
We'll make a bunch of fun out of this. It'll be good. But yeah, thanks so much for all your time. And we'll definitely stay in touch. But this will be episode 13, I think. So we're
Yay.
coming up on the lucky number here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much and
Thanks.
enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. We'll
Sounds
talk
good,
soon.
Liz.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.